Okay guys, so my long-awaited video about my son who was born with Tetralogy of Fallot and just how we got there, how we figured it out, and just, everything since. He's going to be 2 very, very soon. So to start, our pregnancy, had my 20-week anatomy scan. They said they were having difficulty seeing the right side of his heart, I think she said. But that everything else looked fine. If they needed anything else, they would let me know. So went home, didn't hear anything, wasn't really concerned at all. I didn't hear anything, so no concern. I did end up going back for, I think it was like the growth scan at 34 weeks. And she said again that she was having difficulty. Actually, it was a different girl. And this was at the hospital, by the way, because the office I was going to did not have a ultrasound tech or like the ability to do that in office. This ultrasound tech was still having difficulties seeing his heart, she said. She tried to call someone like 2 or 3 times. They didn't pick up. So she was like, if they need anything further, they'll let you know. But like everything else looks good. I'm like, okay. So I went home. And I got a call from my OB who said that I had to go to see a specialist because they were having difficulty seeing the heart. That's all they kept saying, where they couldn't really see the heart. They were having difficulty seeing the heart. He's like, I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of times this is nothing. You're just going to go get checked, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. I drove like an hour and a half away to see the specialist. So while they were doing the ultrasound, it was the ultrasound tech and the doctor. I heard the doctor say, I'm thinking TOF. And I heard of TOF before. I'm a mom already of 2. And I'm into like mom things, mom videos, pregnancy videos. I've got the apps with the communities. So I read a lot of stuff. And I've heard of TOF. So as soon as she said that, I was like, I gave my, I picked up my phone. I typed TOF in Google so that my husband could see it, and then I showed it to him and let him read it, because he was with me as well as my 2 daughters. So they finished the ultrasound, and basically she said it. She said, we're thinking it looks like he has TOF and he will need surgery, and blah blah blah. So that sucked. I was very disappointed. So since I was already 34 weeks, obviously I'm at the end here. We had to speed things up. We had to do a bunch of stuff in the last couple of weeks that I, obviously didn't have to worry about before. I had to go meet with a different office for maternal fetal medicine in a different location. This one felt like it was forever away, but anyways, I had to go there. I had to do a hospital tour, a tour of the cardiovascular ICU. I had to meet with the surgical team. I had to meet with a cardiologist. Just all of these things that we had to do all of a sudden in the last couple of weeks of pregnancy. But we dealt with it. We took it so, they kept going over worst case scenario. He'd need surgery, pretty shortly after birth. We have to see, we don't know. We have to see when he's born, how he's doing, and, how compromised his breathing is. And because, I know he had a lot of backflow into his lungs. He had a lot of his oxygen rich and oxygen poor blood were mixing together. His arteries were very dilated. So, we had to see. And they said, he has Tetralogy of Fallot with absent pulmonary valve. So, they kept asking, like, do you have any questions? And I'm like, yeah, I just want to know best case scenario. Best case scenario, how long are we going to be in the hospital? When can we go home? Like, that's all that I cared about, because I wasn't going to focus on worst case scenario. I was going to focus on best case scenario. That's where I'm going to keep my mind, because when you think about worst case scenario, how do you feel? You're sad, you're depressed, you feel like crap, you're anxious, you're worried. Like, I didn't want to go through those motions. Obviously we all have like certain thoughts, but it's like like they say, take your thoughts captive and make them obedient to Christ. Like I was going to have those thoughts, yes, but I was not going to allow those thoughts to take over and to dictate like how I was going to feel and how the rest of this was going to go. And I'm going to be depressed now. Like I just couldn't do that. So we just had to move forward, right? So we did. They were like, well, best case scenario, he'll only need to be here maybe a week or less. We'll do surgery at between 4 and 6 months of age, and everything will be fine. I'm like, okay, like that's my focus. Like that's where I'm at. So we had to go the night before. We drove to the town that we were gonna have him in. We stayed in a hotel. I was scheduled for my C-section the next morning, but around 3 a.m. I started to have contractions, and they were not going away. But those are my first time having contractions as well in that pregnancy. I haven't experienced like Braxton Hicks and things like that. So I kind of knew it had to be go time because I was getting contractions. Not only was I getting contractions, they were getting stronger, and they just kept happening, and I couldn't sleep through them. I was trying to sleep through them, and it just wasn't working out. So I couldn't go to the hospital. I had to wait for my sister to come and be with my kids, and she lives in another town like an hour and a half away. So I had to wait. So by the time she got there, I couldn't even breathe. Like I'm like, don't talk to me. Like I'm in this right now. So when I got to the hospital, I was already 9 centimeters dilated. They said I can try to push. And so I went for it. And he was born vaginally, which was awesome. Never thought I would experience that. So that was pretty cool. And he did great. Like they had a whole bunch of people in that room with us. So many people. They took him, they told me too, you might not get to hold him right after birth. You might not get that time with him, blah, blah. But they did let me hold him. They took pictures of, I don't even know who took those pictures, to be honest with you. Somebody took pictures of me and my husband with my son. He was super pale when he was born, like so pale. He did good. They took him up to CVICU, which is where he was going to be staying. I went to my room and I was able to go see him like an hour or two after. He had a little bit of oxygen on, but he was doing well, they said. They ran all their tests, their EKGs, their echoes, like everything they needed to do, they were doing. They had something on his forehead, I guess to see, see how much blood and stuff is getting to his head. I think that's what they told me. But he was hooked up to a lot of stuff. But he was able to not have to have surgery. He was able to be born on Monday and come home with us on Saturday. So that was awesome. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald House when I was discharged, and then we were able to go home. I was discharged on Wednesday. He was able to go home Saturday. They had us do a bunch of stuff before they let him go home. Like I had a room in with him. We had to take a CPR class. We had to do the car seat test. And we had to do like a couple little like watch these little videos, and I don't know, make sure you watch these little videos. And then they wanted to talk to me about what I needed to do at home with him, which the only thing that he needed at home was to have, we had a little monitor that they gave us, which I thought this was like a loaner thing, but I guess it's mine to keep. I didn't know that. But yeah, they're like, you can check his oxygen like once a day. That's all you really need to do. He said it doesn't need to be on him 24/7. Just check it like once a day. They wanted him to be, at a good number. They said no less than like 75, but he was always in the high 90s, 90, 95 and up. So, and they told me, and his cardiologist told me, his oxygen will start to drop. He's like, it's only a matter of when, but it will start to drop. And that was kind of upsetting for me because this is my baby. I didn't want to I didn't want to see him starting to have a hard time because he was doing very well. He didn't need anything, didn't need oxygen, he was eating on his own. He was doing great. So that used to like bother me a little bit, but just the thought of it, you know. But that didn't happen. That did not happen before his surgery. He actually didn't. We were shooting for 4 to 6 months. Wanted him to gain a little bit more weight. They said the more weight the better, but we ended up not having to do that, just because scheduling issues and other babies needing surgeries sooner than my son did. So we ended up going in at 9 months. He had his repair. They put a monocusp valve in there. They fixed his arteries, and he had that surgery on a Monday. He was able to come home with us on Saturday, just like when he was born. And oddly enough, we actually ended up in the same exact CVICU room that he was in when he was born. So that was so interesting that we ended up in the same exact room for his surgery, that we were there 9 months prior for his birth. This is a unit with a lot of rooms, so it was so interesting that we ended up in that same room. Again, we stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. His surgery went like perfectly. He did amazing. He went home on Lasix and aspirin. The Lasix was just for like 3 weeks. The aspirin, his cardiologist was like, forever. I'm like, well, you know, do I have to? And he's like, you don't really have to, but blah, blah, blah. But so yeah, your choice. Baby aspirin, half a baby aspirin is what it was. That we would, they gave me, you know, a little pill crusher, so we would crush it up and then put it in a little bit of breast milk, or put it in some water and just like draw it up and then give it to my son, which he wasn't a fan of. But he did amazing. Like, he didn't have any complications after that surgery. He did good. So the goal now with him is that his next surgery won't need to be done until he is late teens, early 20s. And his doctor said that it could be either a surgery or a procedure. I guess we'll see at that time. But that he has no restrictions. He said he does have a little bit of backflow, like a little bit of regurgitation still, but he says that should have no effect on him. And I'm like, well, what would it look like when it does start to affect him? He said it would be like him becoming more tired, becoming short of breath. He's like, but that should not happen like for a very, very long time. He's like, he has no restrictions right now. He's doing great. So he has no restrictions. We have him in T-ball right now. He's such a hyper wild boy. He has no like developmental delays in any way, like physically or even like in milestones, nothing. Like he's doing amazing. I did notice before his surgery that he would get a little bit short of breath when he was like crawling after his sister. He would get a little short of breath, a little wheezy, and you can just hear him breathing hard. But since the surgery, not a problem. That boy is everywhere, up and down, like absolutely everywhere. Another thing I wanted to mention was after surgery, his neutrophil, lymphocytes, and white blood cell count have been low since surgery. Prior to surgery, this was never an issue. Literally the minute he had surgery, because they do a lot of blood work. As soon as he had surgery, right after surgery, those numbers were low. Not sure why, but they've been low since. His pediatrician did refer us to a hematologist. They were concerned for neutropenia. But the hematologist we've seen her twice. She's run her own blood work on him. And although his neutrophil count is low, so they want it to be above 1,500. Although his neutrophil count is low, she says, and let me tell you, it's not majorly low. So if they want the count, even for the white blood cells and for the lymphocytes, say the count is like minimum here. My son is like here. It's not like he's like, whoa, like he's like, this is super low. Like, it's not like that at all. It's like he's just under these things. And it fluctuates because sometimes he has, you know, sometimes the numbers are a little up, sometimes they're a little bit down. It kind of fluctuates, but it's not a big fluctuation. And the hematologist said, yeah, the range is 15, but as long as he's above 1,000, we're not concerned, like, at all. And also my son, he does not get sick a lot. He's not like, he's just not like, he doesn't seem immune compromised as far as like prone to infections, prone to sicknesses, anything like that. No. So she's like, I'm not really concerned at this point. She's like, you can come back and see me in 6 months if you want to, but you don't have to. So we have an appointment, but she's like, it's up to you. You can decide. I'll just have my pediatrician run the blood work or not. You know, it's just, we'll see. I'm not concerned right now, so I might just end up canceling that appointment. She's like, if anything, we can always like reschedule, link back up, see how he's doing, whatever. So I'm not concerned either. But he's almost 2. So with that being said, that's really it. Like, he's doing great. So like I say, even with my daughter who has OI, everybody's situation is different. So like, just because somebody's son has Tetralogy of Fallot or daughter, we can't compare the two to mine. I get that everybody's story is different. So I'm not trying to sit here and be like, yeah, everything's gonna be great if that's what you were told when you were pregnant or whatever. Everybody's outcome is different. Everybody has a different experience. Plus, there's Tetralogy of Fallot alone. There's Tetralogy of Fallot with absent pulmonary valve. There's Tetralogy of Fallot with different things. So everybody's experience is different. I've seen it in the Heart Moms group on Facebook, or the TOF APV group, that people, you know, I've seen people talk about things with their child that my child has not experienced, God willing. Like, I mean, not God willing, but thank God, you know what I'm saying? And God willing. But, so everybody's experience is different. I want to share ours, just so people know, just so people have an insight of, hey, how did, you know, how did this go for you? Like, if you have this too. This is a lot more common than OI. So I think it's a lot easier to find people who with maybe questions about this type of thing, or just looking for somebody who might want to just be sharing their story like we are. So yeah, and the only thing that I can say, and I say this with my daughter, the best thing that you can do, the best thing that I can do for me, what works for my family, is prayer. Like, I need that prayer. Before my son went in for his, before we went to go have my son, I wrote a prayer out on this paper, and I put it on a board that I have in my kitchen, and it's still there today. I needed that. Like, it's so important for me, for my family, to just like stay in prayer, focus on that, and just like not let anything else win. We're all human, we have our moments, but I can't, like, I have to focus on God and his plan and trusting in that, no matter what the outcome is, because trusting in God doesn't mean that everything's gonna go my way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like some people just get kind of confused with that, because they're just like, well, why would God let this happen? Why this and why that? We don't know anything about God's plan for us. It's not for us to know. If we knew everything that was in God's plan, we're like, do we need God? No. So why? It's not for us to know. We just need to be obedient, and we need to trust him, and we need to trust that whatever's happening, like, he's there with us. We don't live in a perfect world, so they're just not going to go perfectly. I'm just prepared. Not prepared. I will not say I'm prepared, because that's a lie. But I know where, like, my faith lies. I know where my hope comes from. When I tell you, like, the day of my son's surgery, leading up to that, like, I wouldn't even talk about it. I was so, like, heartbroken that my son was gonna have to get a heart surgery. So that was heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think about as a parent, because no parent wants to go through any of this. No parent wants to see their child go through any of this. So I was heartbroken, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. How am I gonna give them my son and then just like not see him for hours when he's getting something major done? It's hard to think about. And when I tell you that I woke up that day with a peace that only God can give you, I woke up that day with a peace that only God can give you. Like, I was shocked at how peaceful I felt that day, how calm I felt that day, and how much I just like knew that everything was gonna be okay. Like, I just knew that everything was gonna be okay. I'm like, I don't have to worry about this. Like, my son's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out. Like, one thing that we have to learn to do is to speak life into our situations and not death into our situations. Think about the way that you are thinking. Think about the words that you are saying. Am I saying that you have control over outcomes? Like, no. But we have to be careful of how we speak, because life and death is in the power of the tongue. You can speak life or you can speak death, and the choice is yours. And that also just affects everything else around you. But with that being said, it's not an easy journey. Not saying it's easy and I'm just like this girl with all this faith where I just don't feel a thing and like, you know, everything is, no. It sucks. Like, I've cried a lot for both of them, for all three of my kids, because life, it's tough. It's tough being a parent, but it's okay. I just want people to know that, like, you're not alone in it. Not alone in it at all. And that's really it. I think that's all that I have to say about this. I do want to mention there's a heart walk coming up that we are going to be attending in October in Tampa, Florida. We don't live in Tampa, but we are attending this heart walk in Tampa. And I do have a fundraiser, and I so badly suck at fundraising. I've barely raised a thing, I'm gonna be honest with you, and kind of sucks. But I'm just like so not a social person, and I don't even know how to, like, I just don't even know what I'm doing. Don't know how to fundraise. And I felt such a fire when I first like even signed up for this, and I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna fundraise this way and I'm fundraise that way, and look at me now. Like, I'm like almost a month away from this and I barely have anything fundraised. So with that being said, I'm just gonna put the link in my whatever description or something if anybody wants to donate to this fundraiser. And this fundraiser money does not go to me and my family. This fundraiser money goes to the Heart Foundation. This walk is for the Heart Foundation. It's just to raise awareness about CHDs, which are a very common thing, and unfortunately. So if anybody wants to donate or even share my son's team, it's Team Dominic. My son's team is Team Dominic. Tampa Congenital Heart Walk. I'm running very close to the end of this, so I don't know where this is gonna go. I know that a few people said they're gonna donate like when we get closer to it, so we'll see. But either way, it's just raising money for this foundation. So it's not, like I said, it's got nothing to do with me and my family. But my son's little photo is up there, and yeah, this is something that's important to me though, because I just hate to see people going through things and we feel so alone when we go through them, and it's like, you're not alone. Like, you're not. But one of the main things that we as people feel is like we're alone. But that's the devil's plan. We ain't alone, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's really it. So any questions or anything, like, I hopefully probably covered everything, but even if, like, I'm always here to even just like talk, because I know how it is. I've been there with my daughter in her OI, and I've been there with my son and his TOF, and yeah, so that's really it for this video though. So thanks for watching, and I hope that this reaches people, and I hope that this helps anyone. So thank you. Bye.